Story time on a Sunday. The dogs were going nuts when they thought about the idea of even going to the park. The idea of going for a run. They went crazy. So I think it's because Sherry's been doing it more. And so they like the predictability of it. So anyways, after 3 days of no mail, I finally got some mail, and this was one of the items. So I've been wanting to do this with you guys just to go over some of the things that I find interesting or are overpriced in the infamous Parts Express catalog. I got exposed to this in 91. And it became, oh my God, it's not quite as good as the JCPenney catalog bra section, but it was really fascinating because there was no real electronic stores in the area that were affordable. And being poor, that was a really big attractive thing for me. So the biggest thing, it was funny because my buddy at the time, Johnny, he got me hooked on bass listening to number one, NWA, Fuck the Police. I could not believe that somebody actually made a song saying that. And they did. And then it had a really, really good bass line to it. And it was highly pronounced. Now, my friend Johnny had a bunch of basically stolen equipment that he had stole from his dad. And at the time, our theory was to run the preamp section through another preamp section through another preamp section to boost it, which some people still believe, which is, of course, funny, but it's not true. But anyways, we ended up figuring out, one of the hacks that we figured out was that at the time you could buy like a console, which sometimes it was basically a receiver, and then on top was a record player, and then sometimes it would even have a 8-track that would go in. Well, if you took the record player and just pulled it off, exposed inside was a pair of RCAs. Now, RCA is a standard connector. It doesn't, not all standards are the same, and of course, when you use the phono, it's really, really, really sensitive. And so, whatever, I don't want to get into that, but that's how we would use, because back then there was no aux input. There was no auxiliary. They were like, why would you use anything else? This has the radio, FM and AM, 8-track and final, everything you need, every format, all in one place. And then it was, of course, sold by Sansui or JCPenney or whoever, Mitsubishi, companies like that, TIAC, Sanyo, something like that, but mostly Japanese. Anyways, so that's where we figured out how to use the aux input on something like that. And then I think my friend, well, he wasn't my friend, he was their friend. His name was Aaron, and he had a little Datsun 210, piece of shit. Everybody made fun of him. However, he had a pair of, I think, 12s from home, and he had a Sherwood amplifier, and then he had a CD, or no, not a CD. He had a Sony Walkman cassette player with just batteries in it. And he ran headphone to signal to the amp, hit play. That was his system. It was fucking genius. And it just showed you that you didn't have to pay a lot of money in order to get a, head unit, whatever the fuck that means, a head unit or a in-dash receiver, as they called it. So lots of hacks growing up. It was for the poor kids. And for us, a lot of entertainment was, of course, skateboarding. And so it really cost, you could buy a nice deck with, name brand wheels and trucks and all that kind of stuff for like $100, $150 max. And it was pretty affordable. So it was funny. I was, somebody had already bought some of the skateboards that we had, and they're like, just llama it up. I'm like, all right, cool. And I started looking at skateboards. Skateboards are like $70 just for the deck. And that's like a blank deck or something like that. It's crazy pricing. So, but I'm like, these will sell pretty quick. And again, it's just a fun item. It's a promotional item. It's just another way to say fuck JL and get the word out there that the Jizz Llama loves you while JL enslaves you. So Jizz Llama just promotes love. Anyways, let's see. Let's start this. The ultimate balance and power, control, and affordability. The Dayton Audio Odium Apollo 10-in neodymium mid-bass woofer. I can tell you right now, it's probably a piece of shit. And you got to use this again for PA. Again, I do not like PA. I think it's a waste of everybody's time. Is it super efficient? Yes, only in its passband, which is like down to 40 hertz. That's it. It's not a subwoofer. So it's really just a giant mid slash mid bass, if you really want to even call it mid bass, with a, like usually a 3-inch or a 4-inch coil. But it's not really it's not a subwoofer. Stop using it for subwoofers. I did a repair for a local vendor here, and the guy, I guess maybe his kid got a hold of the volume control, or his dumb son that's like still 53 and living at home in the basement, and was like, turn it up, bro, and just fucking torched all the coils. And I highly recommend just buying a Chinese replacement. They're better, they're faster, they're stronger, and they cost less, and they're better turds than that first turd. But the guy demanded that. I'm like, okay, that's great. But the problem is he has like mismatched ones, and then like one coil doesn't fit. Anyways, drama. Somebody's like, Patrick, you use drama. I'm like, yes, I do, as a tool, because that's the way it should be used. I actually liked these, the replacement drivers. They sold for a while. I'll see if I can post the link. I think Parts Express also has an affiliate program, which I'll participate in. That's fine. Because you see that on Robert Vega, what was his name? Hi-Fi Vega, or whatever the fuck he calls himself. He uses it as well. And I think so does Big D Wiz. So, but let's see. What is it? No. Let's see how the pricing is. I hate when they just don't tell you what it is. There it is. 6.5, 6.5, 4.5, 6.5. What's the cheap one? $25 a pair. No, there we go. 127. $38 a pair. Yeah. So those are pretty good. Let's see. 653. Oh, that's the 652. That's the two-way. Oh, there we go. The new Air series, which, see, 653. It's not even listed. Where is the 653? Am I looking at that wrong? Yes. No, that's 653. I don't see. There it is, 653. Yeah, no, 128 a pair. No, that's going to be a really shitty cabinet. You don't want that. It's going to be a turd. But anyways, this is like a 10-cent tweeter, and this literally is a $6 mid-range, because that's what they sell for, $6. So it probably costs about $1 to under $1 each to make. The real money is here in the cabinet, and the cabinet is not that great, especially after shipping. I would not take your chances on these, and I'm surprised that they do this. Somebody also asked me a question the other day about cabinets. Why doesn't if what is it? Some people say that 80% or 90% of the subwoofer performance is based on the enclosure. Wouldn't the company be really incentivized, or motivated, I should say, not incentivized, but motivated to produce, nose to toes, front to back, nuts to soup to nuts kind of hand holding by providing you an enclosure for their specific woofer? Well, the problem is shipping. And so shipping is expensive no matter what it is. And then shipping something heavy and awkward and fragile like that, you're asking for trouble. And that's why they've really relied on organizations like local car stereo places to build the cabinets that they need. Sometimes you can find a local distributor, like especially in a large metropolitan area like here in Phoenix. We have multiple distributors that sell prefab boxes, either from China or from like RT up in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. They use prison labor and things like that to keep costs down, but even those are pretty expensive. And again, they're prefabs, and they end up not being real great. So, and it's funny the way that I guess they would be called shop bros, guys that hang around at a local shop, and they act like they're like employees, or sometimes they were employees or whatever. They're just shop bros. They're bros that hang around the shop and then stroke their beards if they can grow them, which they usually can't, and then smoke a bunch of industrial vape and shit like that. Those guys are idiots, and they what they learn is to be predatory, just like the shop. So it's sort of like the multi-level marketing program that is known as molestation. So as a kid, you get molested, and then later you grow up and you're angry about it, and then you get your revenge by molesting other people. And so that's basically what that is all about. And I'm not about that, so I don't hang out with those guys, those bros. But as far as this stuff goes, I mean, this is definitely an alternative especially like if you're in a rural area or a town that doesn't have this available for distribution, then yeah, it's great. Let's go for it. And personally, I think you should go through the at this price. Well, I don't know. That's actually not so bad. Regular price, $149 a pair. That's their the most expensive one is $186, and that is the 658. And let's see, the 658 is probably going to be the tower. Yep, it's the tower. That looks like a port right there, even though it's a bad photo. And then there's some cool speakers. Actually, that's a pretty good price considering it's free shipping at $100. So, there was back in the 80s, early 90s, there was a lot of mail-order companies. It wasn't like Fingerhut, but I think Fingerhut did do some stuff. Service Merchandise, that was the name of the place. And so sometimes they would carry speakers, and they would look exotic, and they'd basically be like a bad knockoff of a JBL or a bad knockoff of Bose or something like that. And I knew a lot of people that bought them, and they were more affordable and higher performance than local brands that you had to pay tax on and all that other stuff. So if you do live in a rural area, I think those are actually some pretty good alternatives, especially for temporary, like you buy this and then you use it in the home theater until you can build your own and realize that you can get much better sound and much more premium clout, right? To something that you can show off to friends and impress, whatever your neighbors and stuff like that. See, look, it has the wine. So you're a elegant alcoholic, right? Because a sloppy, gross, disgusting, cheap alcoholic is gross. Don't be that. Be an elegant alcoholic. So let's see. Let's go here. This is the T-Class amp. This is overpriced. When MCM was going out of business, or I would say being absorbed into the parent company, they liquidated a lot of stuff, and we were getting these basically the same amplifier. I have cases of them just sitting for projects and for other stuff. I got them for $10. I sell them for $20. It's not a big deal. But I think it's funny that they're still selling this for in a different housing for $30. Let's see if it says battery or AC powered. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're using the same sub chassis. Like they do in cars, they use the bottom part. That's the same. And then they make the top look funny and different. So I'll put a link to Pete from Hexabase long ago. He turned me on to those. When they first came out, they were like, I think they were $20-25 each from Parts Express. And then that was it wasn't Parts Express. It was MCM, but it was I forget the name of their brand. It was a house brand. Stellar, I think it was called Stellar or something. Anyways, I'll do a little video on those. Those are great little chip amps. They've since evolved, and you can find all kinds of cool stuff on AliExpress and Alibaba. And we'll go over that in another video. Some PA stuff. These are kind of dumb. This big single thing, and it's very expensive. What is this? This is 812. Yeah, $194 for 75 watts. No thanks. Go to Goodwill, buy an old receiver, and you don't have to use both channels. You can use one channel. So, if you're like me, you can build a dual 8-ohm subwoofer and then put each channel in each one. So that's what this setup is basically. So this I think is from Radio Shack. I think this is Optimus, and each side is I think 4 ohm, but there's an inductor in series with it. And then the output has a capacitor on it, which crosses it up for the bookshelf ones. And these are just Infinities that I got from Goodwill. The JVC unit, I love it. It's not super bassy, but in this room it doesn't really need to be. But it's enough where I'm sitting on the toilet in the next room and I can feel it in my butthole. So it's fine. And last night we were jamming out, listening to some radio instead of watching TV, and it was nice. So the prefabs, well, they're knockdowns. They're CNC made knockdowns. I don't know if they're domestically sourced, probably not. I would love Parts Express to talk about that. There's no difference once it's CNC, because then it's basically made by a robot. And that's a generous term. It's just a machine that's programmable. But some of these enclosures are small. The LM, what is that? I got to see it with the phone. The LM18 or UM18, 18 Ultimax subwoofer enclosure, 4 cubic feet. Yeah, it's got to have to be sealed because it's too small for an 18. 500 and, oh, that's with the driver though. I would kind of pass on those. Ultimax was good when T.C.O.Z. I think T.C.O.Z. had a hand in designing that for Parts Express as part of the deal that they had in his liquidation back in, that was 08 and 09. You used to be able to get some T.C.O.Z. stuff and Audio Pulse stuff from Parts Express. In fact, I would love if somebody would pull up the part numbers, because T.C.O.Z. actually had fuse holders and a bunch of other accessories that they liquidated through Parts Express, because my vinyl guy, Jeremy Dad, he was like, I'm getting out of the business, which really means like a woman is being mean to him and saying, pick your stereo stuff or me. And so he picked her and his daughter. Good for him. But he ended up sending me everything. And some of the stuff that was in there was the fuse holders, and they said T.C.O.Z. on them, which was just really cool thing. It was just a generic Chinese thing, but I would love to see someone maybe add the links to the part numbers, because one of the great things about Crutchfield and about Parts Express is they always keep those pages up of even discontinued product so that you can look at the specs. And so you always have something to reference to. It also helps with SEO, which is why they keep it up, because people search for all kinds of weird shit. And if that's the only page relative to, or relevant, I should say, to that item, it's going to pop up. And of course, it sends you to the Parts Express page, and then you start shopping at Parts Express. So it's actually a smart thing. And it costs them very, 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 very little to do. But I would love to see a collection of the T.C.O.Z. Part numbers and links. Josh Perm, formerly of Big Perm of AK, now in New Mexico, and he's the one I'm doing the 54 Huns for. He was a big T.C.O.Z. fan, and he used to buy, I think you had to be, I have to ask him, I think you had to be like a dealer or a reseller, or have some sort of a reseller account, which technically I think we still have a school account with Parts Express, and they give you terms and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool, but I don't really use it. And but you could buy the Axis motors at the time, which was the Audio Pulse closeout. And for a minute, you could buy Axis motors directly from Parts Express, which I think they were selling them for about $150, which is a nice price. So it doesn't beat my price, which is I got those Storm motors from High Desert Audio for, I landed like 5 in a row that were 99 cents because nobody else bid on it. And yet they were still charging me the $25 shipping fee, even though they were right down the street from me. And so that's when I went down to, I figured out how to contact them. eBay is real Nazis about that. They don't want you to make any business contacts outside of that. And I should do a whole video on how to get around eBay. But anyways, I contacted them and I said, hey, how about I just give you the $25 per motor, and then I come down and pick them up. And they're like, bonus. They're like, go for it. And boom, I got like over 100 motors like that in my old shitty pickup truck. So there's deals like that everywhere. You just got to look and be patient and be prepared. It's just like when you're preparing for real estate. It's good to be prepared, have a savings built up, or at least a lot of credit, so you can put like a high limit credit card, like 100,000, 200,000 on a credit card. Not that I have that. I think my max is like 65. No, my city card just went up. It's like I got 7K now on my city card. It's almost full, but that's the way that goes. But very soon all that stuff will go away for me. It's going to be good. I'm going to get a big loan and refinance all that stuff. But TV holders, TV mounts, you can actually find really, really good deals surplus. They've now built so many of these, and there's also ways to hack them. They always say they're made for a certain weight range. And again, there's ways to get around it. It depends on the bolt hole pattern on the back of your television. And even then you can modify it. Like these are always modular. And then these are modular in order to the distance, depending on your stud set size and things like that, that's in your wall. So I just recommend shopping around. Who is it? Monoprice also has sometimes good deals on this kind of stuff. And who else? MCM used to, they would have closeouts under their Stellar brand. I forget who else, but let's see. Golly, it's 20 minutes in and I'm only on page 6. Wrap it up, Patrick. Lapai stuff I'm not a big fan of because the price is too high on these guys. $75 for a plate amp, that's dumb. What you can do is buy a local, I've picked up 3 of them in the past month, which was a Velodyne subwoofer with a working amplifier. And usually what happens is the subwoofer gets rotted out. And so I can either recone it, replace it, or what I do is I actually take the plate amp out and sell that on eBay or some sort of online thing, because shipping that is not a big deal. Shipping the whole cabinet, again, that's prohibitive because of the weight and fragility of packing something like that. That's a lot to pack and it's a lot to ship, and then it doesn't make it worth it. Oh, back to my point about brands like JL or somebody like that shipping an enclosure. It's expensive and they're not going to do it. Typically, they only use a distributor where they can use like freight. They can ship it on a pallet on the back of a truck, or even if you want to get really Berkshire Hathaway, you ship it on a train to, on the choo-choo. That's really the only way to distribute those in a reasonable way. Otherwise, the audio companies become hypocrites. They can make their recommendations on what an enclosure should be, but really that's the creme de la creme is if you can buy a JL branded box or JL. You notice they don't do it anymore. So I think they only do it. I was going to go over their home stuff too, because I was researching that on some of these videos that I posted recently. They still make their e-glass subs, which are really just garbage. They're just super fragile and they don't need to be that way. And it's a way to, again, very tiny input, big output, meaning, $20 in and $2,000 out. They jack off to that stuff. That's their ultimate, because that's the ultimate wool over your eyes, right? They have nothing better to do because they're so fucking rich. They just sit around and go, how much further can we rip this? And you'll see this behavior, of course, also in like local governments, things like that, where they don't have anything better to do. So they go stir up trouble in order to generate money so that they can pay for the barbecue that they don't really want to pay for, and things like that. So anyways, that's rich and powerful people masturbating. It's kind of a crude way to put it, but that's exactly what it is. It doesn't go anywhere, and it gives them some sort of relief, but it's not real relief. Some of their home stuff, again, monoprice, I stick with that. Sometimes you can find a deal. I used to shop the clearance stuff. You can go on their website and search by clearance. A couple times I've crashed their website because I search clearance and then I search low to high, and then I search, I put the maximum number that you can feed into the search engine, because I don't like doing the pages. Hopefully they fixed it, but that's the way I search. And then I find these tiny little deals that you're going to pay pennies for, and then you go sell them for a couple bucks. Those are really great for selling, not on Amazon, but other outlets or things like that. But anyways, this is too expensive. These you can actually make yourself. These are too expensive. A lot of these are too expensive. Watch out for that stuff. Hey, Mama, I'm making a video. Just so you know. That's a goofy looking, it's supposed to be like a little robot. Out of an ammo box, again, too expensive. You can use one of those T-class amplifiers, which you can buy, I think, for about $1.50 to $2. Just the chip and the board. And then you put that inside there and save yourself $50. You only paid $4. Some lithiums. That's, again, if you want to make Tony's diamond box, then that's basically what you do, is you just put batteries in there. Because that's how he does it. All their solder equipment is, of course, overpriced. But it's sometimes, this thing is pretty thin. It used to be much thicker. So, but you got to put something in there. And so that's sometimes a lot of these deals are just filler. Exo hide. I do like the finish of this stuff. Again, this is too expensive, but I'm looking for a spray alternative, and I'm always trying different ones. We finished up Tanner's. They're not 6x9 boxes, but they're the component boxes, and we're finished covering them today with bed liner and I just got it from like Walmart. It's fine, like $10 a can. Ultimax, this is their pride and joy. This is basically just a beefier version of the Gladiator series that you saw on sale from Audio Legion. I also saw this under the Machete, what was it called? Machete Fighter series, which again is from the guys that brought you Def Bonds, Alfred group. Alfred group is like, there's like 4 or 5 different brands and they all kind of mix them, which is kind of weird. I mean, I kind of do the same thing with Blackjack versus Gonzo versus Gislama, so whatever, you know. But I think as a quote unquote legitimate brand, I don't really understand that. And then of course, every series is just sort of one outrageous thing after another. And they're basically attracting Kyle, who drinks, you know, monster drink for breakfast and then punches holes in walls. Again, this is the one I like. They raised the price on this one. This one used to be $24. Especially after you buy 4 at a time, you could get them for $20. I like that one. This is the, what is this? The 4-ohm version. There it is, $295, 417. And you can, if you want to double it up, you can do that. These also are pretty good for home theater if you want to make your own. This tweeter is pretty good. I like the 1 1/8 one. I'll show you. Well, I don't really need to show you in this one, but it's usually on sale for about $18. It's got a really low FS. And sometimes it has truncated flange on the front, which helps you if you're mounted in an MTM design or you want the tweeter really close to the mid, then it's kind of cool to have that. So their drivers are very expensive. They sell Morel. Morel's very expensive. It's not very great. These are the XBL woofers from CSS. Again, I don't really recommend these. If you're going to buy these, you might as well buy a Dyer. And even a Dyer is really expensive, which they're selling a Dyer now too. So that's been another thing that Georgie Boy bought into, which you don't make as much money. Parts Express makes the lion's share on that. However, you do zero work. So that means you're basically shipping a container directly from China to Parts Express to be distributed, which is in Ohio. It's in Dayton, Ohio. Get it? Dayton Audio. It's being distributed out of Ohio, and they're doing all your distribution and sales and marketing. So Dayton Odium series, I guess this is some sort of new whatever. It's all Chinesium. It's all not great, and I've seen the prices really go up, which is sad because typically under the Dayton brand is what they do is like that Neo motor. They basically borrow from another famous brand and create their own version, and it's supposed to be more cost effective. And in this case, these are not being cost effective anymore. So, and then what ends up happening is you find something on Amazon that works just as well and does the same job, and you're not paying for the Dayton brand. Dayton is actually becoming a brand now. And again, that's danger because then they charge more for the premium, or they charge a premium for the brand. Everybody wants to do that. Again, that's the game that rich people play. They want to, again, tiny input, big output. They want to do the same thing with Recoil. They want Recoil to be a premium brand. And I hear them fight about that all the time. The boss over in China is like, I want to get the kind of margins that JL gets. And he's like, well, you got to be JL in order to get those margins. And really what it is again, it's sometimes people look at a parlor trick that JL does and think that they can do it too. And technically you can. The problem is doing it on a massive scale. And the way they do that is all promo. And they have local reps to promote how awesome JL is. When is it really? No. But they have people saying that, and a lot of people look up to shop owners and they trust shop owners and all that kind of stuff. And that's your basically like, franchise. Just like the Catholic Church has a bunch of churches in your area, and they will take your money and molest your kids. And they do that all over the world in mass scale. And they're very good at it. And so they're probably the best at it. Mormon's like a second runner up. So, but anyway, sorry. This is the one that I like. Now they offer this to retrofit your old one. This is the truncated tweeter. This is a little more expensive than what they normally charge. Usually they're about half that price. I remember them being on sale for about $19 and then later at $28. Even at $28, that's still a really good deal. This is not a good deal. Don't buy at this price. Plate amps. They're getting more and more into the fancy plate amps. I liked it when they came out with the Young brand. I'm not sure if that's their brand or it's an affiliate brand. The Young YUNG. Those were good Class D amps, and then they would even put a bass boost circuit. in the lower octave, just for, whatever, shits and giggles. And I really like those. Those are really just kind of generic, and I would love for them to make a version that you can debadge and sell for yourself. Here's the diodes that I've been seeing on sale. I get their the Parts Express flyer in the email, and so they pester me all the time. I think I'm about unsubscribing though, because I don't really buy anything from these guys anymore because the deals are not there the way that they used to be. So again, these are all replicants of the old diode that Dan Wiggins put together. Now it's all black steel. It's just black zinc anodized. And of course, all the pricing is back to where it was before Dan sold the brand or tried to sell it to Perry at Hemp Acoustics, the dillweed that took everybody's money and then went back to Canada. And then the whole thing crashed. And then Patrick was like, I got a call from Dan. Dan's like, hey, Patrick, I got a whole bunch of shit. You want to buy it? And I spent like probably about $7 or $8 grand. I put it all on credit cards and then I got everything. It was great. Anyways, let's see. Timpano. Again, this is, I think, just an affiliate brand that they worked out a deal with Parts Express for distribution. Sometimes you used to be able to get deals on these, but right now they're really pushing their luck on the pricing. And again, it's not like anything special. I think they would actually be better off if they sold this as a non-brand rather than Timpano, because it sounds cheap, even though a lot of the stuff is, again, this is China. And it says Brazil, but it's probably made in China. Might be designed in Brazil, but it says made in Brazil. So they're using exploited Brazilians to put those together. US Acoustics, they're still alive and kicking. I like the idea. Again, I like these amps in the 90s, early 2000s, mostly because they tried to be different. I think for a while they were made by Zed or maybe PPI. I can't remember. And it was the PPI version with Bernie and Dick LeMay. It was not PPI. So anyways, let's see. I like that they call them names. So the one I liked was Barbara Ann and Mike, but they make a bigger one than Mike, which is it's called Big Ben, and it's a 3K. This is a 1.5K, but it's expensive. And this is actually below the dealer price that they quoted me. The dealer price they quoted me back then, this was probably 5 years ago, was $349, and I actually paid $349 for that turd, and then I sold it for like $400. It was lame. But Barbara Ann is the big Class AB 4 channel, and then Mike is the big Class D that they sell. So, and of course, Mike and Barbara Ann is from Beach Boys. That's a Beach Boys reference. So again, all you got to do is come up with a theme, and then you exploit that theme. Priva, Priva is Brazilian, and whatever. They just make all their stuff in China. Sometimes they might make it in Brazil. Again, all they're doing is exploiting Brazilians instead of Chinese. Oh, that's it. That's the end of the whole fucking thing. It's very thin this year. There's Robot Underground. If you want to send me some poop in the mail. If you want to use, they used to offer a key code. There's the key code. You can use my key code. These are expensive. You can get these Chinese generic for about $80, about half that price. Again, that's why I liked MCM versus Parts Express. Parts Express tends to lean more on brands and building out their brand and their distribution out of Springboro. Nobody knows where Springboro is because they probably make the whole town that way. Like the whole town is based around their warehouse. So a lot of tiny towns in Ohio that were full of shit, full of old buildings, dead buildings. I've been looking at those on LoopNet. That's it. I'm going to get to work. It's Sunday. I love you guys. I will talk to you more. I got a couple of review videos that I'm working on right now that I'm going to do for Recoil. And then I think there was something else, some other brand that I was working with. But I got the, it's the 10-inch, I think it's called SW10P. It's the 10-inch with a passive radiator. I think it's a really great affordable alternative to something like, the Sunfire. Of course, it's not as powerful as the Sunfire, but it's a great little idea that you can work with and sort of maybe even build yourself. Not at this price, of course, but it's a great little deal. Anyways, I love you. Bye.